Yeah, I keep saying I'm not going to buy another one, but that changes. But I'm really we're in the stage of focusing on, maximizing what we have before we go out and buy another one.
Okay.
I say that under my breath as we just bought one a couple months ago that we're working on. So.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Bleep the Budget. I am your host, Megan McDonald, Senior Community Relations Specialist of Forefront Credit Union. Today, I am joined by Dan Brady. He is the owner of Adventure North Vacation Rentals. Dan and his wife, Lisa, they own 6 properties here in Northern Michigan, including some larger spaces for friend and family retreat styles, as well as those cozier options for those seeking something maybe even a little bit more quaint. We have Dan on today to talk about the real money journey behind owning Airbnbs, because while it sounds super cool and maybe like some easy passive income, we want to know, is it really? Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Wow, great introduction. Thank you.
Is that okay?
Honored to be here.
Well, Dan, take us back to the very beginning of your journey. When did you first choose to start having Airbnbs and owning those
properties? Yeah. I guess it goes back to growing up and just kind of paying attention to just different business owners in the community, and the ones that seemed like they were doing pretty well seemed to own real estate. So I thought to myself, when, the time comes and I start a business or start working, I knew I wanted to start acquiring real estate. So really it stems way back to the Carlton Sheets day. He was the kind of the real estate guru back in the day, and he had all the infomercials and stuff, and just started paying attention to people owning real estate and asking them questions. So started way back, but I think I bought my first property when I got my first job, and that was, when was that? Back in like 95, and that's when I was back in Grand Rapids. I bought just a house in downtown Grand Rapids for, believe it or not, $45,000.
Wow.
Fixed up. And with that one, I just rented, it was a 4-bedroom. I rented 3 of the bedrooms out to guys that I was working with. So that was my first property. And from there, I bought a 4-plex, and that was my second property in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
And then moved back to Traverse City in right around 2000. So I sold those properties and started a business back in Traverse City. And I think we were talking earlier, that's when I bought that duplex. I bought a duplex when I moved back to Traverse.
Okay.
And that was right around 2000. And that's a great way for people to get started. I lived in half, rented the other half out. So that other half pretty much made my mortgage payment, and that's how I got my start. Okay.
So that one in Traverse City, that was technically your first Airbnb.
Yeah, that one actually at the time, I was living in half of it and renting the other half out long term. So that was 2000, I think, the first Airbnb I bought, or short-term rental.
You're right, because I don't think Airbnb was a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I bought the first short-term rental in 2015. So it basically took me from 2000 buying that first duplex to 2015 for me to actually buy a short-term rental. And that was when I was starting my painting business.
Okay.
So I was getting that up and running, making money, and then I made the leap once I had a little bit of money to that first one back around 2015.
Okay. So what made you want to actually dive into the short-term rental in 2015 then? Because it sounds like your other ones were a little bit more long-term style.
Yeah. Yep. It's actually a neighbor of mine, grew up in Leelanau County, and a neighbor of mine had a short-term rental, and it seemed like he was doing pretty well with it. So I was, I was like, hey, that might be a great avenue to try. And so I bought it in 2015 and just kind of took it from there.
Okay. Be honest with us here. Did you think it was going to be easy, or were you expecting that it was going to have some challenges? And if you did think it was going to be easy, was it actually?
Oh, that's a great question. It was, when I bought it, I didn't have a ton of money. It was, kind of one of those where you go to the bank and you're like, hey, I'm looking at buying this property.
Sure.
And thankfully at that point, my painting business was established. But I was just worried about getting the the loan for it. So with that first property, what I did to be able to do that is I owner occupied it. So I was able to get in with a lower down payment. And while I was fixing it up, I was living in it. So that allowed me not to have to come up with the 20% down. I think I came up with 5% down to get into that first property.
Okay.
It gave me time to get into it for not a huge down payment, and then I was able to get into it, fix it up, and to answer your question, it was a stressful time.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
You feel like the painting business is going. You feel like you're stretching yourself a little bit, but after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, it seemed to work out.
Okay. And for those people listening who maybe don't understand, what was the difference of you being able to do what you called owner occupied with being able to get into that? What did that do for you?
That allowed me, instead of when you're buying a commercial property, typically you have to put 20% down. It allowed me to put just 5% down. Owner occupied it. I owner occupied it while I fixed it up, and then I turned it into short-term rental.
Okay.
And really the first couple I did, because I wasn't married at the time, I was able to owner occupy them, fix them up, turn them into a short-term rental. Got
it. That makes sense. Sounds like that was a really smart move for you then.
Yeah, it did, because I didn't have a ton of liquid capital to be able to invest, so being able to that reduced down payment definitely helped.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you did end up getting a loan for that then.
I did, yeah.
Okay. How was that process for you? Was that kind of scary, or were you smooth sailing?
Seems like every time I get approved for a loan, I was like, oh my gosh, I got approved. I can't,
Yay.
But yeah, it's actually just having relationships with people in the community that, knew that I had a pretty successful business, and they look at the numbers. So you have to have good credit. You have to have, solid cash flow. You have to, there's certain things you need to establish before you can go out and buy really any property, and starting out just getting your credit together and make sure you have a good credit score. And then I kind of just was frugal and saved my pennies along the way and was able to build up enough for a down payment. And it seems like the first couple, you're scraping together pennies and you're working long hours at your job, and then weekends, and having family members help. And once you get the first couple going, then you get that equity working on your side. You understand the process. You understand what works at a property and what doesn't work at a property. And it's kind of go through the school of hard knocks and figure it out. But there's so many great podcasts out there now that you can listen to kind of, listen to this and learn how other people have done it. There's just tons of great resources with YouTube and stuff to help you figure it out along the way.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're one of those great podcasts to figure out how to do something like this now.
We'll hope so.
Yeah. Dan, what do you think were some of the biggest upfront costs that came with owning an Airbnb besides the down payment initially? What would you think is some of those more expensive things?
Yeah, so obviously hiring a contractor, if you're going to contract a lot of it out. I try to find properties that are, that especially initially, that I could put the sweat equity into. So instead of obviously hiring a painter and hiring a contractor, we did a lot of the work. And I tapped my family resources. Like my brother-in-law is a builder. He helped me a lot on the first couple. My sister Sean was integral in just helping me source, everything you would need. You're basically setting up a small motel, I would say, or hotel boutique. Yeah. So you need everything you need if you're to buy a small motel. So just really, especially initially, being ready to roll up your sleeves, and then just looking in your sphere of influence who can help out. But with the first one, it's a beautiful piece of property. It's called Slice of Heaven. If you look at our website, Venture North Vacation Rentals, the first one was Slice of Heaven, and that's the amenity for that property. It's a peninsula on Silver Lake, so just being on the lake is the amenity. But then as the years went by, I purchased a hot tub, a sauna, a cold plunge, and just started to monetize that one and then took that model onto other properties.
Okay. So it's not like you were buying all of those cool things right up front. You built yourself into that.
Absolutely. And and that one, again, the amenity is the property itself. It's a peninsula, it's a really unique piece of property. So
Kind of sells itself in a way.
it does. That one was really helpful, but it took, like with that one, it had a old-fashioned septic and drain field, and so I had to figure that out,
Yeah.
and make sure I could put a new septic and drain field in. So there's always these little hurdles or big hurdles with each property that you have to get over, and it's just being able to handle the stress and anxiety of doing that, because if you wait until the timing is perfect to buy one of these properties, you'll never do it, because really in life, the timing is never perfect. You never have, the stars don't totally align, so just being able to take the plunge. And on that one, it was just getting the loan to be able to buy another property. And that one, I just used what I knew. We painted it. We didn't buy new kitchen cabinets and countertops. We painted, the cabinets. We have a coating for countertops. We just made it really nice. And thankfully with that one, just the location sells it.
Yeah.
And then down the road, that's when I added, the amenities.
Yeah. So you got that one off and obviously very successful. At what point then were you like, okay, let's do another one. I'm in this.
Right. Yeah. When I knew I was making the payments, I could cover the payments. That's when when my expenses were covered and I was making a little bit of money, that's when I plunged into the next one.
Okay.
So.
And how much time, so if you kind of started the short-term rental journey in 2015, we're in 2026, so we're talking like 11-ish years here. How often were you adding properties to reach this 6 that you're in now?
Yeah. So I bought the first one in 2015. I think I bought the second one in 2017.
Okay.
So a couple years. And then actually with that one, we owned 6. Lisa, my wife, and I own, and then a 7th one that we have, I own with partners. And when I bought that second one, the same day I bought, it's now called the 70s Lodge, I bought that. I closed on another one on a land contract the very same day.
Oh,
and the land contract is just a creative way to buy real estate without, a traditional mortgage through a bank. So that was an interesting leap, because not only was I taking on one, but I took on the third one the same day. So that was, again, for that 2017 into 2018, it was a lot of sleepless nights and just a lot of hard work to be able to, if you check out the 70s Lodge, it's a larger property and it was really run down. It took a lot of work to be able to get it to where it is today.
Yeah. I've never seen it in person. I haven't had the opportunity, but the pictures are they're amazing. Like, so cool what you've done. I have to ask, this has really nothing to do with, the show, but was it 70s architecture when you got in there, or did you do all that?
Yeah, it was. It was built in the 70s.
Okay.
And again, that one, you were asking, how did you know when you were ready to buy another one? My expenses were covered and I was making a little bit of money, but I didn't say I was making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I kind of stretched myself to be able to qualify for that property, but to be able to, I think it's over 5,000 square feet. So there's a lot of bedrooms and bathrooms, and the property was run down. So it took a lot to bring it to where it is today. And since I didn't have a ton of money, the house was built in the 70s. Thank goodness for the interior designers that I work with. The big one on that one was Deneen Dingman. Mm-hmm. She helped me a ton. I'm like, Deneen, how can we make this really cool without spending a lot of money?
Right.
And she said it was built in the 70s. Let's do a 70s themed Airbnb or short-term rental with it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did is did that. And again, thank thank you, Jesus, that it all worked out because it was a stressful process.
Well, that was actually my next question for you. Going from 1 to 2, was that scary? Was it easier? What would you say?
You would think it'd be easier, but it was such a slice of heaven is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. This is a 7 or 8 bedroom, 3-bath, and we, did a pool house now. So I think the scope of it was just so much bigger than slice of heaven was.
Yeah.
All that anxiety and stress came back, and I'm saying to myself, what am I doing? I have no business buying this monstrosity of a property that has water in the basement, and just, again, a lot of hurdles to overcome. But I guess that's how you get ahead in life, is really, stretching yourself. And that was a big stretch for me, especially buying another property at the same time with some partners. I had that stress of, okay, now we have this other properties that I have partners on, so I have to make sure that one's taken care of. Plus, I've got this huge property that I need to get ready to rent, in shorter order. So it was a stressful time.
In a way, you could probably say that you bleeped the budget, huh?
Or didn't think about the budget. It was a lot of blind faith. I just knew that it was going to have to be really unique because, again, I didn't have a ton of money for a ton of cool amenities. And thankfully, that one had an indoor hot tub. It had an indoor sauna, but literally it had water in the basement, mold and mildew issues I was dealing with that I had to get taken care of before I could take, the second draw on my loan. So there was definitely some... It's a small miracle that one all worked out, but again, just rolling up the sleeves and drawing on your sphere of influence to help you out.
Yeah.
And God.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting into some of those things like, water in the basement, the mold and stuff, those can be sometimes expensive fixes. How did you manage to pay for those things then?
Yeah, we figured it out. We actually dried the basement out ourselves and, got the equipment that a restoration company would have, these huge dehumidifiers, put those in the basement. And we've figured a lot of it out on our own because I think the bid I got to get rid of the mold and mildew was like close to $30,000.
Ooh.
So I knew what I needed to do to be able to have it ready to rent, and the air levels had to be at this certain level, and I had a company that would come in and test it for me. And I was able to, again, through YouTube and just my circle of influence, was able to fix it out. I've got friends in the different businesses that were able to say, okay, we can help you with this, this, and this. We're going to test for air quality when we're all done. It didn't test where it was certified the first time, so we did some more remediation, and we were able to figure it out.
So a lot of DIY then.
It was, especially on the 70s Lodge, was a lot of figuring it out. Because, again, we didn't have the budget to bring in all the professionals.
Right. So your rentals, speaking of the 70s Lodge and your others, they're all so beautiful. How do you balance with spending in your budget between what you put into a place like that and then still being able to, have cash flow on the side?
To make sure it's profitable?
Yeah.
Well, thankfully with the 70s Lodge, it was such a unique property. Once I started posting these cool pictures of the wallpaper we were putting in and just some of the stuff we were doing to it, that started, basically when I finished the whiskey bar and posted some pictures, people were starting to want to rent that. So I was able to, I think I bought it in the fall of 17, so say October-ish.
Okay.
And I think by the spring of 18, so I'm going to say like spring, early summer, June, we already had rentals. We already had it rented. So our first renters, which was a pretty short period, we were able to have it rent coming in the spring of 2018. So we slowly, thankfully, I bought that property for not a ton of money because it was so run down. I didn't have a huge mortgage payment on it.
Okay.
So the rents that were coming in more than covered the rent. And then I think after the first year, it was cash flowing pretty well to where I was able to use that cash flow, to then add more amenities to that property and then again start looking at other properties.
Okay, yeah. So same theme then. You aren't just going out to the store and just buying all these things right away. You were working up to that, which is the smart thing to do.
And with that property, we got a lot of the furniture, the cool couches and stuff from Habitat Restores in Traverse City, and we drove to Petoskey to get a couch. We were really super creative with that one. Once we got the word out too on social media, we had a lot of people dropping off stuff to help us furnish it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's got a lot of cool, just old 70s stuff in there that we didn't really have to spend a ton of money on that people just seem to love.
Oh, that is awesome. Very, very cool. I wanted to ask you too about your pricing. So how do you decide how to price out each property for Airbnb, especially knowing that we're kind of a seasonal area here? I'm sure you're busier in the summer, the fall, spring, but winter stuff probably dies down a little. Do you switch that up or how is all that process?
Yeah, we use dynamic pricing. There's dynamic pricing tools that you can purchase. We happen to use Price Labs. And what that does, that's what the hotels and motels use. It helps you price your property based on occupancy in the area. So it looks at the entire Traverse City area, all the short-term rentals, hotels, motels, and it helps set your price based on what the market's doing. So if there's a lot of occupancy available in the area, it's going to lower your price. If there's not a lot of occupancy, like summertime, weekends that have a lot going on in Traverse City, it moves your price based on that. So it's actually...
That's cool.
The price on Wednesday could be different than the price on Saturday based on the word is dynamic pricing. There's a bunch of tools under dynamic pricing you can purchase. We happen to use Price Labs, and we have actually now a full-time revenue manager. That's all she does is she handles our pricing for all the different properties because they're all so unique. It's really a full-time job doing it when you have now 7 properties.
Okay. So is dynamic pricing, is that an app or program?
Yeah, that's what dynamic pricing is, the model. And there's under dynamic pricing, there's a bunch of different ones that you can buy. But dynamic pricing is the term that you use. And then Price Labs, if you want to see the tool that we use, if you look at Price Labs, you'll see exactly what it is. But there's several different competitors out there. We just have found Price Labs works the best for us. Okay.
Good to know. So you like that then? Would you suggest that to others out there who are?
I would, yeah, definitely. Especially after we weren't using that right away with just 1 or 2 properties. We were just kind of looking at what others were charging.
Sure.
But now that we've got multiple properties, definitely Price Labs has a great system.
Dan, what would you say is more challenging financially? Is it keeping up with things and making changes to your properties, or is it that long-term game?
All of the above.
Okay.
It's definitely, thankfully, it's a kind of a family-run business. We've got my brother-in-law, Andy, that helps us with the maintenance on the properties.
Yep.
So the upkeep is definitely a full-time job. But then looking at, hey, what's the next amenity we want to add, and is it going to bring the ROI that we want? So I would say a little bit of both of, the maintenance that you have on 7 properties and then, looking, all right, when is it time to buy the next one?
Yeah. And I'm sure you are always thinking about that, huh?
Yeah, I keep saying I'm not going to buy another one, but that changes. But I'm really, we're in the stage of focusing on, maximizing what we have before we go out and buy another one.
Okay.
I say that under my breath as we just bought one a couple months ago that we're working on. So.
Okay. I'll be excited to hear more about that then. Okay, Dan, this is a fun part of the show. We are going to do Money Minute. If you've watched an episode before, we're going to give you a bunch of rapid fire questions. I just want you to answer the question in the first thing that comes into your mind.
Okay.
Sound good?
I've watched a couple episodes, maybe not till the end, so I haven't heard this. So this is, I won't have any practice here, but go.
Okay, here we go. Let's do it. Dan, which of your rental properties is your favorite and why?
That's a tough one, but I'll say the 70s Lodge just because it's so unique and it's got 3 outdoor pickleball courts, and I love pickleball.
Okay. I've never played pickleball, but man, it is like a fast growing thing, isn't it?
It's only a matter of time before you'll be hooked.
All right. Dan, was your first Airbnb cash flow positive right away? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. What is the worst money decision that you made early on?
Boy, they've been, not to say I haven't made any poor decisions. Oh, that's a tough one. Probably buying cold plunges before we needed to.
The cold plunges.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now people love them, so probably wasn't a good idea at the time because we necessarily were trying to be frugal.
Okay.
And we bought them anyways, but it worked out in the end.
It sure did, because they are very popular.
They are
now,
very
aren't
popular.
They? Yes, they are.
I was ahead of their time, I guess we'll say.
You were thinking ahead. Biggest financial lesson that Airbnb ownership has taught you?
Hard work pays off.
One expense that is non-negotiable now.
A hot tub.
I would agree with that. I always look for a hot tub when I book an Airbnb. So
Yeah, when you're stacking amenities, probably the hot tub's the first one you want to add. That's kind of like just get you in the game.
And have you found why that is?
Just what you said, Megan. That's what most people look for, especially when they're coming to northern Michigan, especially fall and winter. It's definitely popular. But even summer, it just seems like hot tub is the one that is the first one people look for. And then if you can stack a sauna and cold plunge onto that and the whole wellness movement, those are 3 great amenities to have.
Yeah, good thinking. Dan, what is more stressful financially, slow seasons or unexpected repairs?
I'm going to go with both on that one.
Okay. Furnish fast and cheap or slow and intentional?
Depending on where you are, probably fast and cheap when you're starting out, but be smart because you can find a lot of cool, not cheap stuff at the thrift stores, Habitat for Humanity, and those types of stores. So be smart about it, but let's not say cheap, we'll say frugal.
Okay. That's a good word. What is one tool, app, or service that has made all the difference in this for you?
Oh, there's a bunch of them out there, but we do have, I want to get the name right. Kevin Spagnola does our, you can find it at enjoywhereyouare.today, and it is an app that we use for our properties that we send to our customers, and it gives them all the great things to do in Traverse City. And he's a local guy that puts this app together. So it's like a chat GBT on steroids for Traverse City. So that's a great app, and get a hold of Kevin and he can set your property up with one of them.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Would you say that Airbnb is actually passive income, or does it not so much?
Not so much, yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely, it can become passive if you put the right systems in place, but starting out, it's not going to be passive.
And would you buy another deal if one popped up tomorrow? Yes or no?
Probably not tomorrow because we are working on one right now that we just bought. So I think my wife Lisa would divorce me if I bought another one right now.
Oh, that's funny. All right, Lisa. Well, you're safe there. Dan, what is one local business or creator or a person who has made all the difference in your journey with owning Airbnbs?
I would definitely have to say the cleaning crews that we have. Love Clean, Brandy at Love Clean, and Caitlin, they handle our larger properties, and having awesome 5-star cleaners is key to having short-term rentals. So for sure. And then I've got some with the smaller properties, Jennifer Honeyset handles one of them, and she does an awesome job. So just having great cleaners is key. Yeah,
probably ones that you can rely on too.
It doesn't matter how great your property is if they're not 5-star clean. So finding good cleaners, building great relationships with the cleaners that you have is so important in the short-term rental business.
Yeah, great advice. We'll wrap things up here with you, Dan. Just a few more questions for you. What is one money mistake that you would warn new Airbnb hosts about?
I think the big thing is just making sure that you really, when you purchase a property, you don't overspend, buy a, say, $600,000 property that's only going to make a couple $100 a night. So just really making sure you have some help underwriting the property to make sure that that property is actually going to cash flow. And then when it comes to the short-term rental world, townships make all the difference. And just making sure if you are going to purchase it, if you are going to purchase a short-term rental, you're doing it in a township that allows short-term rentals, because they all don't. So
that's true.
Before you get excited about any property, say it's in Long Lake Township, go talk to Long Lake and make sure that you can actually rent that property in Long Lake, and how many people can be in that property, because a lot of times that has to do mostly with your septic system. So if you're thinking you can, because it's a huge house, you can put 20 people in it, you might be able to only put 6 based on the septic system. So knowing that ahead of time is so important, because you can do all this homework on the property, think you found the perfect property, and then you go to the township and talk to them and it's not the perfect property. 1, because they don't allow it, or 2, they don't allow you to put 20 people in it, and you need to put 20 people in it for it to cash flow. So checking out that ahead of time will save you a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought about the septic thing before and the number of occupants. That's interesting.
That's probably one of the biggest keys out there, is the township and how many people you can actually sleep in that based on the number of bedrooms and your septic system.
Okay. Great advice. How do these properties fit into your financial big picture for the future?
Yeah, they're definitely short-term pain for long-term gain. If you hold on to properties for an extended period of time, you have appreciation, you have the cash flow, and you have depreciation, which helps you with taxes. So long-term, if you can just get out there, and if you're that young person that's listening, or even middle-aged person that's listening in this area, if you can buy a property and hold it for 10 years, no matter how hard it is, you'll be a genius at the end of 10 years, because we have great appreciation in this area, and those properties that I bought 10, 8, 7 years ago are worth a lot more now than they were back then. So it definitely is a lot of short-term pain for long-term gain when you get into real estate.
Okay. All right. Has owning Airbnbs changed at all how you think about money or risk?
Yeah, again, just, being able to take the plunge and take the risk that you have to. And I think Anthony Robbins says it's the people that can handle the most stress and anxiety, and with risk comes stress and anxiety, right, are the people that get ahead. So it's the people that can manage that stress and anxiety and be able to take the risk are the ones that 10 years from now are going to be so happy they took the risk. So just really don't wait for the time to be right. Just work hard. Again, what did I say when we started is work on that credit score. That could be the first thing that kind of gets your foot in the door. Mm-hmm. Work on that, and then really save your pennies. And before you buy your first one, come talk to me.
Okay, we will send them your way. Dan, what's next for you? More properties? Are you going to refine what you have, or just kind of chill for a minute, even though you've already said that you just scooped something else up?
We did scoop something else up. It's not a big one, so it should be easier. But we're really just trying to, again, just the ones that we have, just go back and just make them even better. And if a deal comes up, we'll definitely look at it. But we're definitely looking at going back and even amenitizing the ones that we have right now more. And the big thing right now is we've been adding pickleball courts. Mm-hmm. Seems to be it's the fastest growing sport. I am totally addicted to it.
Really?
So,
okay.
So I would say definitely if a great deal comes along, I'll look at it. But really just systematizing the properties that we have, just so they're as we talked about earlier, so they're more passive and not so much sweat equity anymore.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
No, you're not. Last question for you, Dan. I'm sure that someone's ears have perked up as they've been listening to all of this and listening to all the cool stuff that you have at your Airbnbs. How can someone find you online and maybe book a rental if they want to?
Yeah, so check out adventurenorthvacationrentals.com. You can find all of our information there. Google me, you'll probably find my phone number. Seriously, I love talking real estate. I had mentors and coaches when I got into this that gave me so much. So I do love talking real estate, and I'm definitely an open book if people want any of my advice.
All right. Well, I hope someone does take you up on that advice because you've got some great things to say, and it's incredible where you started and where you are now. It's just awesome. So great job.
A lot of great people around me, and just thanks again for allowing me to be on the podcast. I'm honored, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, well, we are honored to have you because obviously you are a very busy guy and doing awesome stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Megan.
All right. And thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Bleep the Budget. We'll catch you next time.